Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RE Radar. Now, my name is Nathan Mathisen, and once again, I am your host and realtor. Now, we are back at it today with the kickoff episode of Season 2. Season 1 is over, and it's time for Season 2 to get underway, and we find out what that all brings. Now, if this is your first time listening to RE Radar, let me just take a moment and let you guys know what it's all about here and what my goal is for this podcast. RE Radar is meant to be your one-stop shop for buyers, sellers, and anyone captivated by the real estate universe. Whether you're jumping into your first home purchase, contemplating selling your property, or just curious about the industry, this podcast should be your go-to hub for all your information. As every other week, I'll be offering practical insights and actionable tips. These different types of tips go from decoding the market to mastering negotiating techniques, different strategies you can implement, and each episode is just going to be meant to be jam-packed full of information that is just extremely helpful for you and expands your knowledge on real estate. Different things that I'll be doing on this podcast is not only solo episodes like today, but I'll also be interviewing and chatting with various experts in different fields that revolve around real estate or real estate is involved in. Now, these experts range from seasoned real estate brokers to mortgage lenders, inspectors, and even financial advisors. What these other professionals will do is add another voice that is going to help emphasize different points I make and just expand knowledge on other topics about real estate besides just the idea of purchasing or selling a home, as there are a lot of moving parts when you are purchasing or selling a home. Now, RE Radar's overall mission is to be a beacon of knowledge in the real estate realm with the diverse range of topics, with all these different interviews I do, with the case studies, with looking at different markets. RE Radar simply promises to be your ultimate educational resource about all things real estate. Now, getting to the actual episode today for the Season 2 kickoff, what I'm going to be focusing on is the overall real estate market and where we are headed. But in order for us to truly understand where we are headed to, we need to understand where we've been recently. So we got to take a look at the past and see what's been going on, as that is likely what's going to shape these future trends. So what's taken place in real estate over the summer? In Seattle, we often see a slight dip in the market during the summer. And that's pretty much what we saw. With the Fed still holding back on cutting rates, holding back, not yet cutting them over the summer, there was no real exterior forces that would motivate people to sell houses or to go out and buy more houses. So there was no unexpected bump, and what we got was a lull in the real estate market here in Seattle. Going all the way back to May here in Seattle, there were 1,011 new listings. There were 1,011 new residential listings. In June, that number then dropped down to 916 new residential listings. Then in July, it dropped further down to 800 new listings. And most recently here in August, the number of new residential listings in Seattle was 646. Just because that shows the market over the summer declining does not mean that overall the real estate market is not headed in the correct direction, which I believe it is. Overall, those numbers are up compared to the 2023 summer seasons. The peak new residential listings in June of last year here in Seattle was 812. So the peak this year was 1,011, and then June was 916, and July was 800, whereas last year in 2023, the overall highest number of new listings in the summer was 812. So as you can see, yes, as the summer this season has gone on, fewer homes have come onto the market. But that's not a surprise. That's what's expected. So if we compare it to last summer, we can see that we currently are in a much better situation real estate-wise. Now let's bring in some more data here. and pulling up the month's supply inventory in King County. So switching from Seattle to King County, what this data shows here is at the current rate, how many months would it take for all the inventory to be sold? So looking at it for both July and August, that number is 2.8 months, which if we now look at that historically over the past 10 years, it was 2.8 in September of 2018. And then you have to go all the way back to 2014 for it to actually be higher than 2.8 in terms of supply inventory left. So the way that I kind of look at this data and see it is that while we are, yes, seeing more homes coming onto the market, they're still not really selling or flying off the shelves at great rates, which that has caused the months of supply inventory to then be greater than it has in the past due to these homes sitting. Now, one of those major reasons that homes aren't flying off the shelves right now are, of course, interest rates are higher than they had been in the past previous couple of years. And what that has done is it's made it harder for people to be able to afford to actually buy a home and afford the mortgage. But in my mind, it's not just the interest rates that are the major issue that are holding people back from entering the home market. It's also simply the fact that homes are extremely expensive right now, especially in an area like King County where I'm at. And it's a combination of the fact that the interest rates are around 6% right now, and home prices are very expensive, as here in King County, the median sale price this past month in August in King County was $860,000. That's for residential and condominium. If you go to just residential, it was about $975,000 if we're just looking at residential in King County. And I pulled up a few different mortgage calculators, and what I found is that in order to afford that home, these mortgage calculators are saying that you would have to have an annual income of over $180,000. So is that going to be feasible for a majority of people? No. And now this brings up the question of, is it going to be changing anytime soon? Are we going to see some changes? The simple answer is unfortunately no. Homes are not going to magically become affordable again anytime soon. But that doesn't mean that the overall housing market isn't headed in the right direction and isn't going to. The Fed will be meeting here shortly. They're supposed to be meeting on September 17th and 18th. And as of now, all signs are pointing towards them cutting the interest rates. How much do they cut them, and do they actually cut them? Of course, because people have been saying the Fed is planning to cut the interest rates since the start of this year, and they haven't yet. So really, we can't guarantee that they'll cut them until they actually do cut the rates. And then, of course, that question comes up, well, what are they going to cut them down to? Is it going to be a 0.25% cut? Is it going to be 0.5%? Is it going to be a full percent cut? We don't know, and we won't know until they announce it. But if we were to go with what people are assuming, they are going to cut it, and you don't even have to guess on what percent they're going to cut it. Is what I say is any cut is going to be good for the housing market. The Fed has not cut rates since 2020. This has been a very big buildup, as the Fed has raised rates 11 times since they last cut them. There are a huge number of people sitting on the sideline right now, waiting to jump back into the housing market and buy, or waiting to sell, as people who bought their homes in 2020, 2021 with the low rates, lowest at 2.6%, they've been holding off. They've been waiting. Why would they want to sell when really can they even afford much of a better home with the high interest rates? So they've been waiting. And even a small drop will make a good difference, as every 1% drop in an interest rate is a 10% change in your buying power. What this means is that if you're currently approved for a mortgage of $600,000 and the Fed cut the rate 1%, you'd now be able to afford a home that is $660,000. So let's look at the monthly payments for these. With a 20% down payment on a $600,000 home at a current interest rate of 6.5%, your monthly payments would be around $3,634. Interest rate drops 1% down to 5.5%. Your mortgage payments now go down to $3,326. So that's a savings of about $300 a month or $3,600 a year. So as you can see, interest rates drop, then homes will get cheaper for the buyer, and this is going to lead to more people entering into the market looking to sell their current home and go out and buy a new home. I've even actually seen some experts talking and predict that a drop in the rate by the Fed will lead to this fall's real estate market seeming somewhat similar to a traditional spring market with a bunch of people looking to make a move. With those low rates from 2020 and 2021, it allowed those first-time home buyers to be able to afford actually buying a home and become first-time home buyers. You fast forward to 2024, and a lot of data says that on average, first-time home buyers will stay in that first home for 3 to 4 years before looking to move up. So not only do we have all these people who moved during COVID with being able to work hybrid, likely or potentially trying to move back into cities, move back closer to where they work, with a lot of employers now bringing back the workforce and having them not just be able to work from home, but have to come into the office. So you've got those folks looking to move back. You've also got first-time home buyers looking to upgrade and move somewhere else. And a combination of all this will bring in a wave of both those new sellers and new buyers, helping to ignite that fall market to what a spring market could typically be like. The real estate market overall has been in a rut for close to 2 years now, but if the rates do get cut, like is being rumored, and if that happens, we could quickly see the revitalization of the real estate market with people more interested or even just more willing to make a move and give up that super low interest rate. And then also, of course, the fact that more people are capable of buying a home. Now, even if the Fed does cut the rate, the housing market affordability issue simply won't just disappear. It's not going to vanish. It's unfortunate, but homes are still going to be out of reach for a huge chunk of Americans. Housing affordability is a very hot topic nowadays, which actually is a good thing, I feel. With this getting so out of control where homes are so outrageously priced, it's become a topic of conversation for politicians, and they begin to run on potential solutions for it, which is a good thing. Well, short term, obviously, that's really not going to make much of a difference, but just with them potentially bringing it into the public more, working for solutions, trying to figure out different things, I could see in the long term different things being done and different policies and different type of strategies to be enacted and drawn up that could have a good impact on the long term housing affordability issue and hopefully eventually help more Americans afford to own their own home. Any way that you look at it, these next 2 months are going to be very interesting in seeing how that potential interest rate actually does affect the market. With how many buyers are known to be waiting on the sideline, you'd expect this spring market, like I'm predicting, to take place. But you'll never know until it actually happens. But now transitioning here and moving on to the next topic, as if you were a season 1 listener or watcher, you know on every solo episode, I'll always look into a random market across the United States. The reason I do this is I'm from Seattle, born and raised here, and it's always interesting to me going to a different area in the country and seeing how or if the real estate market there is different. As the United States has such a wide range of markets, it's always cool to see a new place. And you'll never know. Maybe you end up liking the spot and it could be a good investment location. Today, the random market that I have selected through the random US city generator I use was Holland. Holland, Michigan. I don't know about you, but me personally, I have never heard of Holland, Michigan. And Holland, Michigan, where it is, it's a small town on the shore of Lake Makatawa, and it has a population of 34,602. people, which that population is up 0.73% from 2020. So population staying pretty similar. It was 34,352. Now it's 34,602. So very minuscule change. And essentially people are staying in Holland. Now, real estate prices here in Holland have actually taken a pretty nice jump since 2022 and 2023. In July of 2023, the median home sale price in Holland was right about 278,000. Now, in 2024, that home price is up 12.7% to around 313,000. Based on that, it would seem like Holland at least has some qualities of a city that people are interested in living in. Now, one of those reasons I think very likely is because of its location, with it being so close to one of the Great Lakes and all the outdoor activities and tourism that can bring with helping the overall economy in Holland. Along with, from quick Googles, it seems like an overall safe area, and there are some very good schools in that area, which is always going to help out the real estate market. Taking a look at an actual home here in Holland, we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,240 square foot traditional architect home listed for about $265,000, and this home is in downtown Holland. Now, this home isn't the biggest, and it does need a handful of work to be done for it to be updated and really in perfect condition per se. But with that price tag at $265,000 and the median home price in Holland of $313,000, at a glance, this home seems like it was competitively priced, especially looking at some of the other homes right around it. Now that wraps up all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of RE Radar, the Season 2 kickoff. Once again, I'm your host and realtor, Nathan Mathisen. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help. And if you don't have any questions, then I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching.